Hi, and welcome back to the Hot Slides. I am your host, Denise Greer, executive editor here at Pizza Today, and you'll see I'm solo today. I don't have a co-host. This is a unique show. We're going one-on-one with Maggie Mieles from the famed Fara Pizza in New York City. Hey, Maggie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
That's great. So, the one thing that I want to kick the show off with, because it's such a unique perspective. You are a legendary pizzeria, and you are in a legacy of pizza. So I would love to hear your story of what you've been raised in, and kind of how you've developed into this role at Fara.
Well, my dad immigrated from Naples in 1959, and he worked as a farmer in Huntington when he first came to the U.S. He loved working with fresh ingredients, and he knew a lot about farm life. So he liked working with flour and bread. And so he started working in a pizzeria on 4th Avenue in Brooklyn a few years later, but he had this boss mentality. And so
Gotcha.
he always felt like he could do something different and do something better. He worked very, very hard. And then in 1965, his brothers came from Italy, and one of his lifelong friends growing up named Frank Farina. So our last name is DeMarco, and he partnered with Frank Farina, and that's how the name, they wanted to open their own place, and that's how the name Fara came about. They've kind of a fusion of the two names.
Mm-hmm.
That's how, but DeMarco is actually our last name, and to this day, a lot of people think our last name is Fara.
That's funny. So when was the first time that you were in the kitchen? I imagine it was probably when you were wee high.
Yes, so my dad worked 7 days a week, 14-hour days.
Touched every pizza, right?
Yeah. I'm one of seven. I'm 6 siblings, 5
Wow.
brothers and 1 sister. And so the only way for us to spend any time with my father would be to hang out at work, and hanging out at work meant doing work.
Yeah.
So I would say around 7 years old. I'm the middle child. There's 3 older than me and 3 younger. But I would say we would go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And then after school, we would go to the pizzeria. And then on Saturday, I remember as a little girl when they used to have the fountain drinks, like the fruit punch and the grape drinks. You don't see that too often anymore. That's kind of an old tradition thing, but you do find it here and there. So my job was to just fill up the cups of soda, and I couldn't reach the counter at the time, and just reach and give them to the customers. And then I enjoyed going to work, especially being with my father.
Mm-hmm.
And I never left.
So what growing up in the pizzeria, what, you talk about the soda, what were some of your other fondest memories of being in that shop?
Well, I mean, we didn't set out to be, we always knew that we were, and I always knew that my father had a great recipe, because
Mm-hmm.
at that time it was, we were just considered a local pizzeria, but we were known in Brooklyn. And then as time went on, my dad was, constantly experimenting with whenever he would see something. He always used to think, oh, if it's more expensive, it's got to be better.
Oh,
which is true most of the time. So he was just always experimenting, and we were known as one of the best places in Brooklyn. And it's such a tremendous honor, because how many pizzerias there's another pizzeria every few feet in New York and in Brooklyn. So, and he just worked hard really to support his family. My mom was a housewife taking care of 7 of us, and he was never home. He made the sacrifice. So he was never at any of our school events or school plays. And so,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think for him it had anything to do with, I want to be the best at this. He's a very humble man, as most people know.
Yeah, I have heard
and
that.
For me, he just, he even used to say, never, the pizza boxes that say, you've tried all the rest, now try the best. He would never allow me to even purchase one of those boxes because it's up to the person to decide.
Yeah.
And so for me, growing up, and then as we, you know, food blogging, we were in our first book in 1999. That was when Chowhound started, if you're familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And so that book was called The Eclectic Greater Guide to New York, and that was like the first mention of us. And we didn't even think about it. We were like, wow, this is amazing. And it just, I would say, snowballed from there.
Yeah.
And, you know, so much, even myself, when I go to a restaurant now, I just take pictures of food, not people. So I think that's, and of course, with the internet and social media, we became more and more popular, and people started to come from all over the world. Not anything we aimed for. We just we're just simple family, mom and pop shop.
Yeah.
That's what we still consider ourselves. And just we started to get known as one of the top 5 places, and then they said in New York, then they said in America, and then we've even heard in the world. So I'm extremely proud. For me, I said, where do we go from here? My dad's 84 years old, and he hasn't worked throughout the whole pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's about taking that legacy. He built a brand on that little tiny location on Avenue J. So for me, it would be reputation maintenance now. You know, sometimes you see the newer generation, they want to change things that parents did.
Yeah.
That is one thing I am truly enforcing, that we do not change a thing.
And what are those things that you want to keep? Like what's the most important, those vital components that have to stay true, that you're going to really work hard to make sure happen?
Well, just always never compromising the quality of the food, no matter how high the cost of the food, because you see it often where somebody, you know, they're struggling to make it, and we've been there ourselves, and if they have a good recipe and they know they have a good recipe, sometimes they'll change the tomato or they'll change the cheese just to stay afloat because their expenses are higher. And of course, with payroll and rents, not everyone owns a property. We happen to be a family that does not own the property. We pay rent at 3 locations.
Ouch.
And so people don't see the behind the scenes of, you know, they just see the success. They don't always know, unless you're in the industry or unless you hear our story and anyone's story in our industry, the real back end of what goes on behind such a great product. And to just keep the integrity of the way we treat people, the way the recipe, the way we handle the food. It's challenging now, as you can only imagine, because there is no indoor dining. And for us, even at 50% capacity, it does not make sense yet, because we'd only have a few people. And then we want them to get the experience they've got the last 55 years, which would mean coming in, waiting for your pizza, having a seat. So we decided not to open indoor until 100% capacity, because we wouldn't want to treat people differently because a pandemic exists. Obviously, there's guidelines that we have to follow, but we wouldn't want to rush a table because there's another couple waiting or another 4 people waiting. So we decided to stick with takeout and delivery at our original location for the time being. So what changes the integrity? You hand your pizza box to a third party person.
Yes.
That's where your integrity changes.
Oh, and how are you dealing with that?
It's been extremely challenging, but for the most part, we do work with several third-party deliveries, and depending on how passionate that the person we're interacting with is about his job and keeping his job, a lot of them are independent contractors. So much once it leaves your hands. I mean, we make sure the pizza's perfect, we secure it properly, and then you get a handful of times where the person in transition, they drop it or so it's challenging, especially for us, because I'll tell these third-party companies, I don't have to be specific with any, there's many of them. I'll say, listen, we're in business 55 years, you just started, okay? So
you just trust us.
So it's challenging. It's challenging, especially because speed isn't our thing. We don't have pizza lying around. We're known for the pizza being made right in front of you, and then
Yeah.
at an oven, and you receiving it and you bring it to the table.
It's an
But
experience.
yes, and we also do nationwide shipping now, which was the best decision I
Yeah.
ever made in 2019, unaware there would be a pandemic.
You're ahead of the curve right there.
Yeah, so we launched a holiday 2019, and we were very successful with that. And then we imagined January and February would be slow, because those are the slow months in this industry, whether you're dine-in, whether you're fast food.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually a time. And then we really didn't get we got to experience change, but we've been working ever since. I mean,
I can imagine.
I'm grateful because, my parents are quarantined and they've been safe, and we're really smart and careful. We keep it different teams. Like, I keep one team at the location where I do the nationwide shipping.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and then Avenue J is my siblings and a couple of other employees. And I just launched this new location, but I take the shipping team with me. This way, if someone was to, unfortunately get affected with COVID, we would not have to close down all 3 locations.
And
so
what's happening? What's happening in New York right now? Are you guys almost to where you can open it, 50%, 75%?
Yes, well, it's up to 50%.
Okay.
So if you have 100 seats, 50 people, 50 seating. In our case, we're grandfathered in. We're 19 chairs or less is our capacity.
Oh, wow.
So when it was 25%, we said, what is that, 2.5 people there? So, but it's a very small square feet in our original location. So we're waiting till it's 100%, which will be 19 people.
Now, are people able to pick up at your locations? Because I've been to the original location, and I just remember the line just staggering around the block. Are they able to pick up at your location, or is it just delivery, or how does that work with?
So at the original location, if you remember, we have a window, which was very helpful during this time.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We operate only out of that window. So we work with all of them, basically: Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, Seamless. So it's a bunch of tablets, all over the place. But
integration.
You can also stop by and order at the window, or you could call your order in. Mm-hmm. So it's been working. It's been working pretty well. We've been pretty fortunate.
Now, something I'm curious about, you've got these new components, you've got new locations, you got this ghost kitchen, which I want to learn more about behind you. How are you able to, keep those standards of Fara and introduce these new locations, especially with the new locations, that having that experience of such a legendary restaurant? How are you able to to keep that experience alive?
By being there a lot, not just handing it off to others. Obviously, if we're expanding, there's also employees. We used to just being all family, which has its good and bad points. But for me, as for the nationwide shipping, I oversee every pie that goes out. We ship so many pies out a week through GoBelly. That's the shipping partner with that. And we've received great response to it. So that was really something that I know we worked so hard at, and that was a really good decision. And I hope it remains that way.
Yeah.
So being there, one thing about my father, he used to say, you have to be there.
Yeah.
And today everyone needs rest and relaxation, but you get to get something off the ground when it's new, because basically the ghost kitchen is a newborn right now. We just launched out of there, but it's also strictly takeout and delivery.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of other shared kitchens here. We have our own little kitchen in here, and that just launched 3 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. So that is
And I'm
brand
here.
baby new. What
Yes.
made you guys want to go into the ghost kitchen route? I'm very interested. I wrote a story on ghost kitchens recently, on how they're working in the pizza space, and to see a legendary pizzeria go into it. This is fascinating. So tell me more.
Well, what happened was, so I'm going to call it a warehouse, the location where we do shipping. It opened in 2018. It was a food hall, like a food
Oh, yeah, yeah,
market.
yeah,
It
absolutely.
had 22 vendors. Unfortunately, 21 of them are no longer there.
Yeah.
And so we're the only ones really there utilizing the space for our shipping supplies and doing the shipping. And I wanted to do takeout and delivery, but I just couldn't, I didn't have enough staff. I continue to not have enough staff
Yeah.
so basically where, that team is coming to the Ghost Kitchen now to do takeout and delivery. And I don't have a long contract with the Ghost Kitchen because
Mm-hmm.
we don't know how it'll work out, because it is just takeout and delivery. And when New York opens fully, will that change?
Yeah.
It's in Manhattan. A lot of people tell me in Manhattan, not many people cook, so I don't know how true that is. I know I haven't had much of a chance to cook, and I love cooking.
Yeah.
But New York itself, I know there's a lot of traffic and a lot of people, so
Yeah.
so I feel like I feel like these ghost kitchens that are being built, there's many of them. They're also called commissary kitchens,
Mm-hmm.
and also virtual kitchens.
Yeah.
I think it is a great concept. I'm too new in the game to
Yeah.
see how, but we need to take it slow. I always tell people, like, if we're not immediately busy the second we put it out there, I said, if we
Yeah.
rush, we ruin it. Williamsburg wasn't immediately busy. Avenue J
Yeah.
wasn't immediately busy.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my father tells me, at the time, his father was alive, my grandfather. He said
Mm-hmm.
no customers came in the first day in Avenue J. His father went home and prayed, and then they were packed. And look, and we went through so many struggles. It was just hard work and passion for what you do. That's, no matter how great your ingredients are, if you don't have passion, is the best ingredient, because even if you're tired, your love for it, your desire to be there every day is
It'll pull you through, right?
yeah.
I love it.
Performance Food Service is proud to deliver high-quality products, innovative technology, and custom operational solutions to restaurants of all sizes across the country. The flagship division of Performance Food Group, with deep roots in the restaurant industry, Performance Food Service has been the exclusive distributor of the Roma family of brands for more than 65 years. This signature relationship has allowed Performance Food Service to become a leader in the pizza and Italian segment of food service nationwide.
I'd like to circle back. You were talking, because we had this discussion kind of off when we were trying to set up the call about employees and how it's really tough to find them right now. So what does it take to work at one of your shops, and how are you going about trying to get a hold of these folks to work for you?
So we hear on the news and we read in the papers that many people are unemployed. But in this
we hear that too.
and I hear in this industry, especially, first I go through the industry rather than posting ads anywhere. And I've been seeking through the industry because rather than posting ads and then get bombarded, and you don't know who's sincere, and you don't know who's you schedule time for an interview and then they do not show up at the interview. So everyone that I reach out to in the industry, whether it be pizza, whether it be restaurant owner, whether it be a bar manager, anyone that I've known, whether it's one of my food purveyors, they all say the same thing. We're all looking for help.
Yep.
So it's
we
been
hear it every day.
I hear that there are these new apps where you can find a person on the spot that you can post. So that's the new thing.
Yeah.
Why I'm reluctant to try it immediately is because I feel we become like a family. We have so much fun in the kitchen, whether at every location. We used to host a lot of parties, but there's no indoor dining anymore. So a lot of people miss that. People are sending emails, when can we have a party there again? So I feel we're very generous with the staff, and we know that anyone, for the most part, that has joined us and remained with us are really happy here, and they'll tell us how happy they are. So I guess it's a matter of, getting to know the work, getting to know us, and it depends on how passionate that person is. But if you grab somebody just for a one-night shift, they're not, I feel, why would they have the same passion? You have to, not that they don't have hard work in them and being reliable, but I want people to know that maybe today you're just food prep and cutting peppers and cutting toppings, or maybe today you're the one in charge of the food protection certificate to make sure everything's cold and what's hot is hot and what's cold is cold, and cleaning up. Maybe you are that today. I was all of that, those things. And so if you like the industry, I meet so many people. I had a few employees of my own also that they went from corporate world and they wanted to shadow the work that I did, because there's so many moving parts in what I do.
Yeah.
And then I tell them, if we decide not to keep them or they decide to leave, that take what you learn in corporate, take what you learn in this industry, and you can be, someday a manager of a hotel or a great restaurant, things like that. And so I've seen some of my own employees
rise
go
up
that route. So I feel very proud also with the crew that we have now, and we just got to find a few more people.
Yeah. I get it. It's the hard thing. I mean, if you look at how long it takes to train somebody in the ways that you do things, because everybody's very different. Every pizzeria, like their own philosophies and values and what they hold true are just so different from each other. So even if you are in the pizzeria industry and you go from one pizzeria to the next, you may not be successful as an employee at this one versus the other one, because they're doing it a whole other way. And you guys do things very like by hand, and you're adding a lot of love and craft to pizza making. So I imagine it takes a little more time to do all around pizza.
Yes, very true. It does. So as you probably know, if our pizza is considered 8, somebody will go, how big is the pizza? And I'll say 8 slices. And they'll say, how many inches? And I go, anywhere between 16 and 18. I go, they're not perfectly uniform, like your average place. When we put pepperoni on or any of the toppings, we're not counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're not counting the pepperoni. It's an art. If you get a pie that let's say has 3 toppings on it, you get a pie, one bite might not have any of the meat on it. One bite might not have any of the toppings on it. So it's, there's no science to what we do. It's all eyeballing. But that's part of the art of it. We recently had to create a recipe template for an upcoming project that we'll disclose soon. And it was so challenging because we do not measure. We do not weigh our dough. We do not. So that was, but it was challenging, but it was good to learn, because now if we ever do decide to do a cookbook, we know how to create the recipe template.
That's so unique you say that, because I was thinking, you have this second restaurant, you've got the ghost kitchen, but you still have the ability to freestyle a little bit within that.
Well, that's the part I love most about it. My siblings are a little different than I am with that. Where they grew up on J, that's their comfort zone. And I'll say, you gotta experience some of the things I'm experiencing. It'll change the way you think. It'll change the way you feel. Different environment for the day. It's the same thing, but different scenery, different environment, different. I'm driving the Manhattan Bridge every day now, and I think I drove it twice in my life growing up. I mean, as a kid, not as a driver.
I got you. So with having these, expanding and doing all these things, how are the siblings, like you guys as kind of the second generation of the restaurant, kind of how is that dynamic? How does that work out between this next generation, and then who's there to pick up after you guys?
That's a good question. One of the things, I have a couple of nieces and nephews, and that doesn't guarantee they're going to have the love for the industry. we were born into it, and something that you'll hear me say quite often, maybe when we were younger, we resented the fact a little bit that we didn't get to try different things, different workspaces, different, you know, we went to school and then we went to work. But as an adult, this is my honest, true feeling. I can never say I did not spend enough time with my family, especially my father.
Yeah, absolutely. You gave me goosebumps there. So amazing. You know, my dad had a business too, and I loved working with him. And I actually would work with him so that I could give him a day off, because my parents wouldn't get a day off unless I worked with them, because I didn't trust some of the people they hired, you know, to take care of the business while they were away. So I would work it for them because I didn't want anybody else to touch it. So I definitely understand.
No, I get it. And I think I was a little bit like that too. And that's why maybe so much of the expanding and so much of everything that goes on behind the scenes involves me. So I meet a lot of business owners too, and they'll say, oh, I can't find good help. I can't find good help. And then they say, well, how do you get people to be part of doing everything? Because I always tell everyone, all of us here have to know how to do everything.
Yeah.
Because one person knows how to make dough, and that person can't come in today. We can't have 3 people that do not know how to make dough. So I said, one of our rules is everyone has to learn how to do everything within your comfort zone. If you're afraid to cut a topping, we're not going to say, here, take this knife and start cutting.
Don't let the clumsy person cut toppings.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
But as a kid, I was always the person, if there's a piece of cardboard on the floor or a piece of paper on the floor, you watch 5 people walk over it. I was always the one to pick it up. And I said, that's why I get stuck with all the work. But I love what I do. Yeah. My father always loved what he does. And unfortunately, he's slowing down a lot. And we just haven't brought him to work because we're keeping my mom safe, and it's worked out well so far. But I look forward to where he can at least come into the pizzeria again. People like to take photos with him. They like getting his autograph. So
I'm sure he loves that too. He probably eats that up a little bit.
So I look forward to being able to bring him to work again.
Yeah. Well,
whether he's making,
that's on the horizon real soon.
You know, there's that saying, time flies when you're having fun. It also flies when you're not having fun. I cannot believe it's 2021.
You know, they refer to it as the lost year for like students, and I'm like, I kind of feel like that way a little bit in some ways, but I feel like I've also grown. I've watched the pizza industry just, you know, what's happened in our industry is fascinating. I mean, they are going to do case studies on this for years to come. What has happened in pizza during this pandemic? And I know you felt it, you know, as your business has, you know, gone through this, and then you get hit with a pandemic, and you're like, oh gosh, what do we do now? How do we go forward? What, you know, we can't have people inside, you know, and, you know, being able to move through that says something, and move through and grow like you guys have. And that says a lot.
Part of me feels like a little bit bad sharing that we've been able to start this nationwide shipping, open another location. But for me also, we also kept people on payroll. Yeah. And we are looking for employees. So one of the reasons I didn't take a break during this pandemic, I would like to exercise again and catch up on some cleaning and things that I have to do at home, paperwork that piles up. But I also feel so proud of the fact that we didn't have to let anyone go. So for me, that's
testament. Yeah, that is a complete testament to what happened.
And pizza's a comfort food. So even if people are challenged financially, even the best pizzas and most expensive pizzas, the high quality pizzas, they still could feed a family of 4. And this is something my father always said. He was interviewed by Nightline back in 2009, because that was when we raised the price of our pizza. And that was the exact response. I think it is considered, you know, an inexpensive food because the amount of people you could feed from one pizza. Yeah. So that was during, I was trying to think of the word, a recession.
Yeah,
at that
during
time.
recession.
He said,
Yeah.
how are you raising prices during a recession? But it wasn't actually my father. It was me looking at the bills and saying, oh my gosh, look at our food costs. I'm changing prices.
He took the hit for you. That's okay.
So what I mean by that is, and we haven't raised it even since flour's gone up, our tomatoes, everything goes up.
Everything
We're
goes
trying to, which we guarantee that we will not change the quality of the product.
Mm-hmm.
Not my siblings, not myself, for sure.
Well, that's good that you guys have that value system that you're like, nope,
It's very important.
Yeah. Now, how is that with the frozen product? Did you guys have to adapt your original recipe and your original things? You don't have to tell me exactly what, but did you have to do a lot of adapting to create the frozen product for delivery?
The only thing that we had to change was the ounces of the dough. So the frozen pizza we send out, instead of sending out an 18-inch pie, we send out 2 12-inch pies. Each package, so the minimum you could get is 2 12-inch pies. Same exact recipe. The only thing we had to do was change the ounces of the dough. So we call them minis.
And 12 inches is not a mini, but that's awesome.
And then I kept saying, because Goldbelly really wanted us to do this, and I was like, no, I can't do it, I'm not ready for this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm so glad that we put the time into it, and we test the product out. So the day that I was going to get my test, meaning comes to my home, the frozen pizza. Dino, who is one of the guys you see on my team all the time. He's loud, he's fun, he's great, excellent pizza maker, dedicated to the craft. He sends it to me, and I open it and I go, Dino, that pizza wasn't that thin crust. He goes, well, it was going to you. And I'm like, that was the most important one that you send out. So he sent out like the regular dough. So we had to do it over. In other words, he thought because it was going to me, he didn't have to do the exact. Then I'm like, no.
He's like, no, I need to test the frozen product.
I'm the one who's going to approve of it. So
yeah.
So there were some challenges, and then we test with because summer months you have to worry. There's so much involved with different states, the temperatures of those states. But now we started working with dry ice, and that was one of the best decisions that during the pandemic, there was a shortage of the ice.
I heard there was a shortage. Yeah.
Yes, there was because so many people were shipping and handling now.
Yeah.
Same recipe. And then I said, wait a second, we snip basil and add parm at the end.
Oh, how do you do that?
So I contacted, the account manager that I work with from Goldbelly. And I said, we have to test again. I said, the pizza was delicious, but we can't put the basil. We have to send the basil out separately. Yeah. So we did. And so when we send out the pizza, we send out 2 of the mini pizzas or the square pizza. The square pizza we cut in half so that so it's a full square, but we cut it in half so that it fits the packaging better.
Yeah. Okay. I got you.
Nothing. We didn't have to change anything. What we ship out tomorrow, we're making today. We put it in the freezer today, and we ship. It goes right out tomorrow.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was very happy with the results. We wanted to make sure that the basil doesn't turn. Yeah. Because it goes in the package, and basil needs to be a different temperature than the product. So we tested for very quick testing because we have so much experience in what we do. And the partnership is really great at what they do. They're really huge company now, and wonderful team of people to communicate with and be part of. So that was it. And we decided to launch December 5th, which is my dad's birthday. December 5th, 2019 was his 83rd birthday. And Goldbelly and myself, we decided, let's launch a sale, 2 pizzas for $83. Driving, and we had to put a cap on the orders because we knew we would probably sell out, and we didn't know yet how we would manage. And at that time, I had like 12 or 13 people working on the project. Yeah. And so I'll never forget, I was driving, and it launched at noon that day. at 1:30 it sold out, and I was in the car the whole time driving. But for me, that's a great story to.
That's awesome. That's such a fun story.
So it's been extremely successful. You get a handful of people that will tell you, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's the same in a compact size, sending out overnight. And if they cook it wrong, and they put and you're supposed to snip the basil on after. Which, speaking of, tomorrow we're actually doing an unboxing for Goldbelly TV, so that customers will know exactly how to prep it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I know that you are an extremely busy woman. And I won't take up any more of your time except for to ask this question. Because I could probably keep going. I could probably talk to you for like 2 hours. I probably have enough questions for you to ask 2 hours worth, but I won't. But I will ask you, as we open, the country opens back up and people start traveling again. I mean, it's already, they said that the travel was starting to pick up again, and New York probably will pick up again. And as destination traveling becomes real, are you guys planning for that huge surge of, of people that are going to be on that pilgrimage to get to Fara?
Every day is different. Like, we never even knew we'd be considered essential workers. At first, when the pandemic happened, we were like, oh no, what does that mean? But because we just thought doctors, nurses, policemen, those were all essential, grocery stores, pharmacies. Yeah. But then you think about it, yes, food is essential. So we've been so lucky with that, and we are doing pretty good with that. And I know I'm waiting for 100%. I have people asking me, when can we come into Fara? When can we sit down? When can you do a pizza making party? Because we do pizza making party soon. And we definitely are going to wait till it's 100%. Yeah. So that we can prepare ourselves more. There's certain guidelines we all have to follow now. Yeah. If someone comes in, you have to take their temperature, and sanitizing was always a thing. We also learned this when you take the FPC, which is the food protection course. So anything we learned about viruses way before Corona existed. We know how to practice all safe handling and things like that. So it wasn't new to us. Obviously coronavirus was new to us, but the steps to maintaining proper everything was not new to us. Yeah.
That's great. Well,
so we're planning, we're just taking it day by day, because you know what, even whether it's COVID, whether it's you never know the next crisis. So we take every day, one day at a time.
Yeah, that's kind of how you had to look at it. Well, I think that's the perfect notion to go out on. Take it day by day, fellow pizzeria owners. Well, thank you so much for taking time to do this wonderful one-on-one. I've really enjoyed doing a one-on-one with you. It's great.
Thank you for having me. It was really nice to talk to you.
All right. Well, best of luck with your new endeavors, and I can't wait to get back to the city and stand in the line and get that pizza, because that's part of the experience too, right?
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing those lines and not 6 feet apart. That will go all the way around the block.
Yeah, that'll be like a mile-long stretch of people waiting for pizza.
Yeah,
so
I'm looking forward to some form of the old normal coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, take care, and I'll see you in New York sometime soon, hopefully.
Sounds good. Be well.
All right, you too. Goodbye.
Bye.